You are watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois, Friday night, 11 p.m., October 13th, 2023. Friday the 13th, I guess. Today we are going to read through something a little bit unusual. A game called Curios, Albrecht Manor. Before I get into what this is, what I know about it, let's just catch up in the chat, talk about any bookkeeping. Nicola's here. DJ Moneycut is here, who sent me this wonderful mug. Jonathan, Warner, and Matt. A little bit of bookkeeping. This past week, I went to a Kudo Plays meeting. That's the local Champaign board game group that runs a contest every year for the design of board games, and I talked for 5 minutes about high and low. That went pretty well. I'll get better at presenting it over time, but I'm very excited about high and low, and we've been working on it, tweaking neighborhoods. Still a lot more to do. If you haven't watched my 2.5-hour live stream talking about the game and showing off the documents, that's on the channel. That's the first designer diary, board game design diary, and there'll be one every month going forward for the foreseeable future. What else happened? Last week we also played a new series, a series called Escape the Crate, a game called Night of the Vampire, which was surprisingly good. I didn't expect anything. I thought it was going to be a super easy case, short. It's an escape room game, like many of these other games that the companies sell directly through their own website, but it actually turned out to be interesting, have some new stuff, and quite well done and creepy, keeping with our October theme of trying to play some scary, creepy games. We've gotten off to a slow start, but that will change. I think I'll probably be streaming most of next week. So the plan is we'll play this tonight. We'll not do anything tomorrow, but Sunday we'll have our Dear Homes at 3 p.m., our play-by-mail. And then I think the current plan, I'm thinking Monday we'll play Fall of House of Asher, the Deadbolt Mystery Society latest box. And then we'll start playing The Messenger, which is a sort of deluxe, creepy, Halloween, scary game. We'll start that maybe on Tuesday or Monday, depending on how it goes. That may take us several days leading up to another deluxe experience around Halloween, and we'll fill in the days around that maybe with some more Mythos Tales games, maybe some more Deadbolt Mystery Society. We have a lot of games. All right. Anything else to talk about before we get started? If anyone's working on any interesting projects, please let me know. Barring that, let's talk about what I know about the company that makes this game. Let's pull out a little bit. Okay, so the company that makes this game is called Good Luck Press. It's two people. Seb Pines is one of them. So that's the author of this game. They make a lot of sort of art experimental games. I guess they're mostly games, but they're sort of combination either games or sort of found art like things. They call this an epistolary game, a word that I was not familiar with, but basically means told in through letters. So that's what we're going to get here. We're going to get a story, a game. It's supposed to be creepy and scary, told in the form of letters. As I understand it, this is just a big envelope of letters that we're going to walk through. So I don't know how much of this is just going to be a story that we sit here and read together, or how much of it is going to be we should be stopping and thinking and discussing theories. I know that the other things they make vary. They sort of say that their foundation is sort of in the zine culture, creating these independent little zines. But they make a bunch of little games, and they're all sort of artistic experimental projects. Now, one thing I do know is that this Curios series, there's two of them. There's a brand new one that's just come out called something Park, Jasper Park. And they're taking pre-orders for it. And this one is about $25, $27, only available directly from their website. So that's what I know about it. We're going to find out together. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so what can we tell from the cover of this already? Let's see what this is here. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this kind of thing, this is seen often in an academic department when an item is forwarded by departments. It leaves a little trail here. And I believe this game is 2223. So we see it was sent from hauntings to the hauntings department from the combustion department. Let's see. Combustion to hauntings, back and forth. Sinister architecture from combustion, hauntings from sinister architecture. And a bunch of names here. Birchley Reed. Looks like it's going back and forth between these people. Okay, and then we've got a little introduction. I believe you could also buy this purely in digital form. So a reminder that these games are, you can only play through them once. They're stories, they're mysteries. So at some point, as we're going through this, if you think, wow, this looks fun, I'd like to play this with my own group, not just watch it on YouTube, you could stop watching, go get it yourself, play it, come back, watch this. After you finish, see how we differed in our experiences. And when we get to the end, I'll ask everyone to give your thoughts. So I do hope you'll keep a pen and paper nearby. Write down any design thoughts you have as we play them, your favorite parts, least favorite parts, any ideas. Okay, back to the overview here. A packaged mystery. Reality contains fractures, a series of anomalous events that defy explanation, with only remnants of their occurrences left behind. Letters, recordings, photos, and reports are all that remains of these phenomena, housed within the archive, a catalog of the extraordinary and peculiar. Our first collection is calamitous events connected through the centuries, the case of Albrecht Manor. How old is your house? A question not so simply answered for Alex Dunn when unsettling sounds and shadows begin creeping through the house at night. A new house, far away from home, the only thing keeping Alex tethered to reality is the research into this home with mysterious providence and the letters sent to their lifelong friend Anne. Letters that for weeks have gone unanswered. Alex's research never concluded, the last letters arriving on May 17th, 1993. Alex disappeared, presumed dead after a house fire that same day. What happened to Alex Dunn? Read the letters to try to solve the circumstances of Alex's disappearance and those in the home before them. Okay, so there we go. So this is being presented as a bit of a game. We're trying to solve the circumstances of Alex's disappearance. All right. Anything else to catch up on before we start here? Jonathan has not posted a link yet to his book club, but I've been reading the book. I'm a little behind the club on Discord. Jonathan hopefully will post a link, but I'm loving this book. Jonathan is finding some very charming books. The Case of the Poisoned Chocolates before this I loved. This one's called The Crooked Hinge, and the writing is just so nice. It's so charming. It almost makes me want to go drop high and low and go back to the 1800s writing style. Okay, so I don't know if we should just, I guess we're going to open this envelope and take a look at everything inside. All right, so we've got a big stack of letters. Okay, and then we've got extra documents. So they're sealed letters from Alex. These are upside down. I'm going to keep them as I find them. So there are a whole bunch of sealed letters going from, it looks like 3/8/93 to 5/17/93. So over the course of 2 months, we've got letters. Then we've got, looks like a little bit of instructions. Maybe we'll read that before we look at the rest. All right, let's read this together. Dear researcher, contained within this envelope is a collection of letters acquired by our archive. Never meeting their intended recipient, the letters have instead found their way onto our shelves. The content detailed within the letters suggests that something supernatural happening within Alex Dunn's home. These supernatural manifestations may be connected to the eventual disappearance of Alex Dunn, whose last known whereabouts is tied to their last posted letter to Ann Wilson on May 17, 1993. Based on the events described in Alex's letters and the subsequent dreams, it is difficult to classify this haunting, as it does not fit within the standard parameters. Presence of unexplained sounds and smells aligns with typical hauntings, but lacks any meaningful manifestations of spiritual transcendence. A deeper review of these events is needed for proper classification within the archives, so this work falls to you. You are to open each letter, comparing its contents to the inventory list provided. Analyze the subject matter of the letters and the subsequent evidence included in the letters of Alex's own exploration of the house's unexplained phenomena. Be sure to record any happenings of note, as they may help with the classification of this phenomena. My intuition suspects this event may resist clear categorization. Once finished, you may report in with your interpretation of events and the potential causes of Alex's disappearance. Awaiting your findings, the archivist. Okay, so we have our assignment here. We are researchers with this organization. We've got a hold of these letters, and we're going to try to figure out what's happened here. What has happened to Alex Dunn, and what was going on? Was this a real supernatural event? Was it some other culprit making it look like it? And it does sound like we should be taking notes, perhaps, as we go. So we have to classify, we have to find out what kind of haunting it is. This person thinks it was some kind of haunting, but it's odd that there were no meaningful manifestations of spiritual transcendence. Something about comparing versus inventory list. Okay. Well, that's, here's our inventory list. Okay, so this is just what we should find in this package. Okay, so bunch of envelopes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And the list of contents, this is again just to make sure you got everything. I think we'll do our normal thing. We'll treat it as spoiler unless something goes wrong. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we have our 11 envelopes. And then we're also supposed to get a post office delivery notice, postcard. So 3 more items, and here they are. I'm not going to dwell on that since it's a bit of spoilers. All right, so we've got postcards and a post office delivery notice. Let's see. To the attention of resident of 301 Woodstock Avenue, enclosed are letters sent to your address that were undelivered at the time of sending. Recent discovery of a missing postal package enabled us to recover a number of unsent letters and deliver them to their intended addresses. We apologize for the delay in service. General Manager, Smithville Post Office. Okay, so 301 Woodstock Avenue, which is where these letters were being sent. So there's our person who disappeared from his house. He was sending letters to Ann Wilson. They never arrived. Then later they were delivered. Let's see. Jonathan says, do you think there's a suggesting an order for reading the letters? Let's see, May 2023. I see. So this is, Jonathan is saying the game might be suggesting what we should read. Okay, so we've got a postcard of May 23 and then going backwards to an original postcard. So I guess a real question is we're going to have to figure out what order we want to read these in. But let's see, I skipped this. Let's read this. Navigate to the reporting page and fill out the report contact form. In your message, indicate your theories. I see. So, well, without looking at the details, how do you think what order should we read these in? Should we start with the earliest one and then go to the latest? Or should we start in reverse order? Logically, it seems like we should start at the beginning. All right, so one of these postcards is before all the letters and one of them is after. But it seems like the channel is going to have to decide first what order you want to do them in. All right, let's have a little vote here. Vote chronological or vote reverse. Just type vote and then type vote chronological or vote reverse. Seems like the game probably wants us to go chronologically, but it is interesting that it's not making a direct suggestion to us. This would be one of these things. Well, here you go. Here's a design issue. If you were making this game, should the authors have suggested, is there a better way to do it? I wonder what people say. Okay, it sounds like everyone is voting chronological. So I guess we're going to go chronological. All right. No one is on record wanting to go in reverse order. All right, well, let's, we can stop this here. That's good enough. We're going to go chronological. So let's see, which one of these was the chronological one? 1/3/25. Okay, so this is our March 1st. Okay, so this one is our last one. We'll save that for last. Came after all of the letters. Here is the first postcard sent. Being sent from the Ho Hum Motel. Okay. Nothing jumps out here, although it looks like one of those old family-run small motels. No cars. No one's in it. Okay, so it's sent to Ann Wilson. Same address. Smithville Post Office in Ontario, in Canada. March 1st. It's Canada. They're reversing the day, month, year. Okay, here we go. Hi, Ann. I just moved into the new house, and it's a dream. It's secluded, but not too secluded. And I see, we've got our handwriting we're going to have to deal with. Okay, it's secluded, but not too secluded. And it's a bit rough around the edges, but it's everything I could have wanted it to be. I'll try to call you later this week to tell you more about it, but my phone line hasn't been set up yet. If I don't get it set up soon, I may just have to send you more letters, like that time you went to camp without me, because I broke my leg. I swear I sent you one every day. I was so bored, and you didn't even get them all until the last day you were there. The mail is so unpredictable. Anyways, I love it here, and I've got some work to do. I can't wait to have you over to visit. Alex. P.S. Ontario is kind of nice, he says. A little bit surprised. Okay, so he's moved into his new house. He likes it. It's secluded. And this presumably would be probably some motel near his new house. Do you think that's what we're meant to think? He's sending it. So presumably he picked this up at some local place. Smithville. Okay. All right. So if we're going in chronological order, then we just take them off the pile here. And we'll put this at the bottom for last. There you go. All right. First letter sent March 8th, 1993. Okay, and our postcard was March 1st, right? Okay, so a week later, he sent her a letter. 2742 Barbary Road, St. Anne's. That's where his house seems to be. Okay. Well, I guess maybe is there a better way to do this? How do you open letters? Okay. Let's read the first letter. Presumably he's gonna be in a good mood on the first letter, I would think. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is fun. It's a real typewritten letter. Okay. From the desk of Alex Dunn. Is that his new house? Hi, Anne. First house update. How exciting. I'm slowly getting settled in here. There's a lot more room here than I'm used to, so it's still quite bare. I'll have to take a weekend to go explore some local flea markets and charity shops to see if I can get some decent furniture for this place. I'm still mostly in boxes, but at least I've got my bed and my desk and a semi-functional kitchen. That's really all I need. You remember how little I had when we lived together in college? Truly, that apartment only became a home because of your loving touch. Maybe you should come up here soon and decorate. Ha! I jest. Well, unless you want to. I won't say no, of course. I've managed to get some good writing done here already, which is wonderful, but I also worry it's distracting me from the main job I have to do of unpacking. The writing comes so much easier here. I don't know if it's the quiet or the solitude or maybe the house itself, but it feels great to have creativity flowing so freely. I may just have to partition my days to force myself to unpack. The process hasn't been easy as the movers just put boxes wherever. All the boxes I helped put into their proper rooms aren't even in them anymore. Bedroom boxes in my office, living room boxes in my bedroom. The kitchen and bathroom boxes got all swapped. I spend about as much time lugging around these boxes to their proper rooms as I do unpacking these days. Must be a more tiring endeavor than I realize, because I also seem to be unpacking things in the wrong places as well. I mean, I'm not putting colanders in the office or anything, but things are always in a different place from where I would normally want them to be. All my dinnerware was under the sink. Like he's losing his mind a little. It's dreadfully tiring, but hopefully I can keep plugging away at this and it'll be done before I know it. I hope my phone line will get set up soon, although sending letters is nice and nostalgic and I would really like to call and hear your voice. I don't even know if my postcard has found its way to you yet. Other than you, my sister, and my editor, I don't have anyone else to talk with. I've become too much of a hermit these last few years with work. And being in a big empty house on a secluded road, it does get quite lonely at times, even for me. I don't think these empty rooms help either. Well, that's it. I'm off to unpack. I'll channel your spirit and try my hardest to make this place a home. XX Alex. And then he's written on the back, story idea, haunted house story, strange changing house, weird sounds, walls moving, doors moving, moving through walls. Okay. Interesting. All right, so let's put our open ones in a pile over here. You can't see that. All right, I'll put them over here, maybe. All right, these will be our finished, our red ones. All right, next letter. Maybe these just open. And then cutting it. All right. Okay, here's our next letter. Oh, 2 letters in this one. 2-page letter he wrote. Okay. Do we need to pause between letters? Anything interesting there? Okay, so it sounded like he's either losing his mind as he's unpacking or forgetting things, or some other spirits are moving things, or it just sounds like in his mind he can't remember that he left open something and moved it in some weird place. And then he's clearly having thoughts of haunted houses as he's going. Okay, here we go. March 13th. So another almost a week. Hi, Anne. The house is finally a home. Well, mostly. I still need some extra niceties to make this place truly homey. But I think if you were to come visit, which I hope you do soon, please come immediately once you get my letters. I promise you will never impose. Even to your standards, it would be passable for a home. I have my kitchen and living room as I like it. My bedroom is quite nice with a south-facing window as well. There's even a guest room with a quaint little daybed that will hopefully be suitable for guests. Seriously, please come visit. Wow, he really wants her to visit. The only thing I haven't gotten quite the way I like it is my office. But it's also the room I'm spending the most time in, so I think I'm just being incredibly picky. This house feels XXX completely different now. At some point, I wonder if we're going to need to pay attention to some of these things. I mean, what has he started to? It sounds like, okay, in this case, he started to write totally, but changed it to completely. So that's just exactly a normal person would do that. He started to write TOT. For some reason, he's changed his mind and changed it from TOT to completely. That's what it looks like to me. The house feels completely different now that I'm finally unpacked. All my things seem to be staying in place. Well, except whenever I misplace a pen or my keys. The house is full of colors and textures, and I think I'm finally starting to settle into the house as much as it's settling into itself. I'm still not used to the sounds of a new house just yet. Must be an older house than I thought because the creaks this house makes at night. I know the seasons are changing and nights can be much colder, but I swear this house has a penchant for complaining with how much it groans at night. Endless creaks and groans. Sometimes I swear there's someone else in the house with how the floorboards creak. The other night I was working late and I could have sworn it sounded like someone was walking around in the guest room above me from the amount of noise the floorboards were making. When I went to go check it out, no one was there, of course, and all the noises had stopped. I've just started working with some cassettes playing to drown out the noises, but the noises keep me up enough I can't sleep. I really hope I get used to it soon because sleepless nights make for sloppy writing and I really need to get these short stories done by a deadline. Which reminds me, I have good news to share with you. Some of my stories are going to be published. Feels like I haven't gotten anything published since the university newspaper. Please tell me you still have all the clippings of my stories. I definitely lost them. I reached out to the local newspapers and they seemed thrilled to have a writer moving to town. Hopefully I can steer this into getting some steady work. Otherwise it's back to ghostwriting for me. I should leave my typewriter out at the ready at night. Maybe the thing causing creaks and groans in my house could write the stories for me. Ha! next page. I'm trying to keep my spirits up with these weird sounds, but sometimes it truly makes me feel like I'm not alone in this house, and it's not as comforting as it seems. I guess I'd prefer to have met my guests, or at least know a little bit about them before they started giving me the creeps late at night. Maybe once I decorate this house more, they'll settle in too and won't be so restless. I've also been having the strangest dreams. Last night I had the most vivid dream about unpacking, and the box that I started unloading was filled with old photos and scrapbooks. As I was looking at a photo of us from our graduation ceremony, the photo caught fire in my hands. But I wasn't afraid and simply held the burning photo. The fire started small from the center of my chest and slowly burned out, consuming the rest of the image, and I just sat there holding it as it turned to ash in my hands, entranced by the flames. Bits and pieces of the burning photo fell back into the box, and soon the whole thing was in flames. I didn't react at all, instead watching how the fire danced in front of me and how warm it felt on my skin. It wasn't until the fire started spreading and began crawling up my legs that I felt the pain and jolted awake in bed. I awoke with the strangest feelings, grasping at my legs that felt unnaturally warm. But in my half-conscious haze, I felt like there was something in the fire that I was trying to see. Something important? Anyways, that dream woke me around 3 a.m. and haven't been able to get a wink of sleep since. I'm feeling dreadfully tired today. I'm off to take a nap, or at least attempt to, as the weary work never ends for me and I need all the energy I can get. I hope to hear from you soon, Alex. P.S. I still haven't gotten my phone line hooked up, and I don't even know if you're getting my letters, but I think I'll keep sending them all the same. Gives me something to do, and you'll have to get them eventually, right? So, first of all, more mention of him being super tired. And now he's had this dream of this fire, and we know that the place burned down in flames, right? That's what we're told in our background to the whole story, that his house burned up eventually. So that is creepy. Okay, and then he's drawn a diagram of his office. He's got a low shelf here, bookshelves. There's his desk and chair, an armchair, and some plants. Some plants here. And then he's written something here too, in the back of this one. Sleepless nights I wander through endless corridors to find the door that isn't there. I reach out, fingers expecting to meet me. Fingers expecting to meet metal. To grasp and turn, but instead they meet plaster, hard but slowly yielding under my touch. My hand sinks in slowly into the wall until I find myself subsumed slowly into the dark, unsteady places of the house, where I expect to meet silence, a stillness that only an old house can know. Instead, there is a resonance, a ticking, ringing out, echoing within the walls. Each beam and board behind the walls is ticking, ticking, ticking. That's pretty creepy. That's pretty creepy. His picture here is of a house that's sort of changing configuration. The door should be there, but his hand goes into the plaster. Jonathan is reminding me of something nice. This is a good time to take our first break. We've got a taste of it. We're going to take a break now. If you think this is something you want to play on your own with your own group and don't want to be spoiled by watching our playthrough, you could stop now. Again, I think you can purchase this digitally from the company. If not, you order it. You can come watch this after you play it yourself. For those of you who are going to join me for the entire stream, we'll be back in 8 minutes to continue reading the letters. Okay, we're back. The chat was talking about the letters, whether Anne got them. We don't, it's odd that we're not hearing from Anne at all. We don't know if she got them. However, we do know this. It's a post office note to the resident of where Anne lived at 301 Woodstock Avenue saying, hey, these letters were originally sent, but they didn't get delivered. They got lost, but now we're delivering them. So General Manager Smithville Post Office, I guess this is relevant to us because it's not at the recipient's post office, it's at the sender's. It's, I think, do we know what town he's in? Because it seems like it's where he sent the letters from. They lost them, and now they're only being delivered. But anyway, no sign that Anne ever saw them. And then we're told that the archive acquired them. That's it. No mention of Anne. Okay, and then the channel was suggesting to me that I should check the letter with the list to make sure we get them all. Okay, I'll put that ahead so I can read it. We had a letter March 8th, a letter March 15th. Our next letter is March 20th. And someone was pointing out that the same thing seemed to happen to his letters from camp, that maybe they never reached Anne. Maybe this is all about Anne. That would be interesting, right? What if this case is all about Anne? No, it seems like it's about his house. Nothing weird happened to the summer camp stuff. All right, here's our next letter. Anything we need to talk about before we continue? So far, it's creepy. We know he's a writer. A little bit of Stephen King vibes here. And he's feeling quite inspired to write, but he's super tired. All right, so let's check out our next letter here. I can feel there's something extra in this letter. Okay, March 20th. It looks like he sent her some photographs in the letter. 4 photographs. Let's read the letter first. Anne, my late night visitor has settled, and so has the house. I've finally gotten some good night's rest the last few days, and I'm filled with boundless energy. Spring always does this to me. The wind gets warmer and takes on that light and earthy smell, and I start seeing a first few blooms, and suddenly I want to clean the whole house. Luckily, the house is still quite spotless since the deep clean I did when first moving in, so now all my energy goes into long walks and writing. I walked into town to deliver the first drafts of my stories to the newspaper. The woman at reception was so sweet. She introduced me to the whole staff, which seemed to be fair, was only 6 of them. The receptionist, Fatima, said she loves to read and is excited to have more fiction they can publish. She also clearly noted that it'll be nice to fill the paper space on slow news days. Here's hoping for many slow news days. Apparently, the newspaper has been running for over 200 years and is almost as old as the town. Exciting to know, maybe one day my little stories might be considered heritage pieces. I'll note that he lives in St. Anne's, Ontario. Writing to Anne Wilson. That's a little weird. Okay. While I was out in town, I got some film developed and got doubles made so I could send you some photos of the house. I'm not quite the photographer like you are, so you'll need to hold off on any critiques of my skill. It's such a lovely house. I really hope you can see it in person soon, but until then, the photos will suffice. Okay, let's take a look. All right, so here's a photo of his house, 1993. It looks a little bit like there's some double exposure. Otherwise, it looks fairly normal. I don't see any creepy apparitions in the window. Although it is giving me a scary vibe. It's a little dated. What's this book here? It's like a little cookbook. Indoor grilling. He's got a book on indoor grilling. Stove, microwave above the stove. Looks like maybe an old antique electric can opener, if I had to guess. He's got a little basket here of food. Can't quite tell what that is in there. Some plants. I can't tell what's in the corner here. Maybe some clothing and a pen. He's writing a letter or something. Don't know what this sign is in the window. This says 661 JPEG. Not quite sure what this is, if anything. Okay, that's photo 1. Here's another photo with, again, some little double exposure going on. But presumably this is outside of the house. Garage. I've got some double exposure going on. Nothing else really of note here. Then the third photo. Okay, he's got a tall ceilings. This is looking out the back. It's like a painting of some sort of print. It's got a little porch. Nothing else jumps out. Okay, so here we have another view of the porch. There is the silhouette of someone here for sure. But it looks like we might have a double exposure. There's the print that we saw before. There's some light. Maybe it's a reflection from the flash that's taking the photo. This could just be the shadow of the person taking the photograph, our guy Alex. Nothing else jumps out, but that's a little spooky. Okay, let's continue our reading here. He says, it's such a lovely house. I really hope you can see it in person soon, but until then, photos will suffice. I also managed to check out the library, and it's small and rustic, but nice. It has a considerable archive of the town if I ever want to write a book about this place, which I'm starting to think I just might. And a decent collection of fiction books. I asked the librarian if they ever take acquisition requests, and she seemed both appalled and delighted by the idea. Apparently no one between the ages of 15 and 50 ever used the library regularly enough for them to consider that. I got some absolutely gaudy pulp novels to enjoy over the next few weeks in between my writing breaks. I tried to give you a call at a payphone while I was out, but I guess I messed up the time zones, and you may have been on your way to work already. It was nice to hear your voice, though, from your answering machine. I'll have to give you a proper call in the evenings once my phone line gets set up, if it ever will. Otherwise, it looks like I might need to make some clandestine midnight calls to you. I know I moved here to be closer to family, but I'm really starting to miss the friends and life I had back home in Victoria. I'm meeting locals here, so that's something, and maybe I know a college friend or two who moved here from BC, British Columbia. Other than the homesickness, I finally feel like I'm starting to settle in here, both the town and the house, looking forward to what the summer might bring. All right, so he has called her. She didn't answer her phone, but her answering machine picked up. So presumably there's nothing super weird going on. This woman he's writing to does exist, it sounds like, but she's not home somehow. And then on the back, he's written, moving through the walls, I can see rooms beyond doors without windows. The walls fold into each other like the spiraling petals of a flower, all connecting to a center where deep within I can hear it buzzing. That's weird when he's writing this stuff. Like, what is he? He's like writing it. He doesn't say here's a little piece of story or anything. He's just absent-mindedly writing about this creepy house. All right, next letter is March 29th. Feels pretty thin here. So 9 days since his previous letter. Jonathan says, Matt wanted to see if there are any reflections in the microwave. Matt says, I don't think that's him writing the cursive. You don't, huh? Maybe we could check handwriting. Reflections in the microwave, huh? Okay. All right, let's take a look at the microwave. I don't really see anything that I can make out. I mean, there is a little bit of double exposure of something, but I don't see what it would be. No faces or anything. All right, let's take a look at our March 29th letter. I wonder, I mean, before we read this, the suggestion that this isn't his handwriting, I mean, we could try to answer that. Let's compare his postcard to this font. This is very much the same handwriting font. You can see, look at how stereotyped the letter T's are in this handwriting font. It's very, the T's have a little squiggle on the top, like a sideways S. And then if we look at his writing at the back of these letters, he's doing the same exact thing with his T's. And they drop below the baseline. You can see the T's dropping below the baseline. And here they continue into the H. And if we look at his letters, the T's are again dropping below the baseline. And there's the T curve continuing to the H. So this is absolutely his handwriting on the letters. All right. Question from the chat. Matt says, my wife thinks she saw a guy wearing a mask in the reflection. Okay. Were there any contradictions between the two photos of the back door? Contradictions. That's interesting. You're saying he's talking about the house shifting around. That's a very clever idea. You're saying he's talking about the house shifting around. Do we have any indications from the photos that the house is shifting around? That's a very clever question. Okay. These appear to be of the same corner of the house. So here you see looking at this corner, we see it's got a right and a left with the fence going that way on the left-hand side and going fully across. And now here we are on this side of the room here looking through this door in this photo. So there's the mat on the ground. These look very consistent to me. But boy, was that a good question. Like, there's the light switch, there's the light switch, there's the mat, there's the mat. You're looking out at this gate, which presumably we can't quite see from here. Otherwise, these two photos seem completely consistent to me. But I like your idea. Let's keep an eye open for other photographs. I can see here's the print, which is sort of blacked out, like we can't see it here. I'm not sure why that is. It's like overexposed. Good question though. All right, let's read our next letter. What did I do with it? Oh, did I put it down here? Yes, okay. Next letter. Anne. Oh, look at this. He's already having trouble writing the date. All right. Hi, Anne. I can't really remember the last time I sent you a letter. I think it's been more than a week. The stress of the move is finally catching up with me, I suppose. There's got a little gap here. I've been in somewhat of a haze this last while, just walking around, not entirely sure of what day it is or what I'm supposed to be doing. I find myself wandering into rooms and uncertain why I went into them, and sometimes even unsure of where I am. Not able to recognize the rooms as my home until I've stood in them for a good while and really concentrated on where I'm at. Oh, he's losing his mind. This is scary. It doesn't help that I feel so shut up in this house. The phone company still hasn't set up the landline. I had to go into town to use the payphone to figure out what the delay was. Something about how they're unsure of where my house is on the local neighborhood grid. So anytime they send a technician out to investigate, there seems to just be no landlines running to my house, and they'll need to install a new one or something. I can't believe this house doesn't have a phone line hookup. There are phone jacks all about the place, and it's not that old of a house. Perhaps something happened to the line since the last owners lived here, and they just haven't been maintaining it. Whatever the issue is, hopefully it'll all be settled soon. As much as I enjoy sending you letters, the novelty's starting to wear thin, and I haven't managed to get any new mail since I moved here. If I had known such necessary services came so slowly out here, I may have reconsidered moving here in the first place. Perhaps I just need more time out of the house. There are only so many more times that I can think my bedroom is at the end of the hall and end up standing in the bathroom or walking into my office expecting what? What am I expecting to find in there? So many nights I wander in like I'm going to join someone in another room for something, tea or a drink, or for what, I don't know. Only to find myself faced with my typewriter and unedited stacks of manuscripts staring me down. Sometimes I feel like there are more rooms in this house than there really are. I find myself wandering into the living room with plates of food as if I'm expecting to be met with a nice, quiet, and bright dining room to eat in, when this house doesn't have a dining room. It has never had a dining room. It just has a quaint little breakfast nook with a sunny south-facing window, which is one of the charms of the place. Oh, Anne, what is this house doing to me? I can't find my bedroom even on my best days, and I'm wandering into rooms expecting a more lavish house with dining rooms and lounges. I've never lived in a house with a lounge. Dining room, yes, but it was a cramped and dark little room, nothing like an open, breezy place like I seem to be expecting this house to have. At nights, I swear my hallways have more doors in them. But whenever I go up to an unrecognizable door to grasp the knob, my hand passes through it. I find myself just staring at a bare spot in the walls. Whoa, he's really losing it. The house feeling jumbled isn't the only issue either. Seems like my evening guest is back. And look what he started to write. Ghost. He started to write my evening ghost, GH, and then changed it to guest. My evening guest is back. I can hear the creaking of the floorboards and now the squeak of the door hinges as some doors are being opened at night. I've been feeling too hazy for it to fully register with me some days. The creaking and quiet footsteps from the floor above just sounding like regular house noises. It has become the most disconcerting during the moments I walk into a room and find myself standing in the middle of it, confused as to why I've come in there again. Then I hear the creaking of the floorboards above, the sounds of someone else walking into the room above me and stopping, just above my head. I'll admit it's been unnerving me to the point where I've been making up reasons for myself to fall asleep on the couch late at night and not go up to my much more comfortable bed. And then we have some red text here. Like, how did he type this red text? The nights are long and filled with secrets. There are rooms hidden yet waiting to be found. There are more visitors to this home than it will ever know, and yet more yet to come. The house moves and breathes each night as if a great beast slowly waking from slumber. I think I'm going to spend some time out in the garden. Alex. Okay, that's creepy. That is creepy. George Costanza says, is he the ghost? That would be quite the twist. And Matt says, I'm thinking the same thing. Okay. All right. Our next letter is April 2nd. And it's a big letter here. When is our halfway point at the letters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is almost our halfway point. Okay. I guess if he's typing all these return addresses by hand, we should keep our eye on these to make sure nothing weird is happening. And if he's writing these by hand, we should keep an eye on that to make sure nothing's changing there. All right, so we got a big letter here. Let's see what we've got. Oh, it looks like he's drawn some diagrams or something. Oh, he's included some clippings here. Okay, this is exciting. All right. Let's see what we've got here. Clippings, brochure, and 2 photocopied, 3 photocopied. It looks like he's decided to go do some research onto his house and the blueprints. Let's read. April 1st. Hi, Anne. I think all this fresh spring air is doing me good, as I've been feeling much better these last few days. Not to mention the shock to my senses I had the other day gave me quite a fright that I think it helped me break through the haze. Dispel all previous experiences you've had with me with any relation to kitchen fires from when we lived together because I promise this isn't that. And in the last 7 years on my own, I've learned to use the stove. Thank you very much. I woke up the other night to the strong smell of smoke permeating throughout the house. Jumping out of bed, I looked about my room, and it seemed as if the whole room was slowly filling with smoke. My eyes were so hazy. I walked up to my bedroom door to leave and inspect the source of the smoke, but when I touched the handle, it burned me. I recoiled my hand, and looking down at it, there wasn't even the slightest sign of redness, and the sting dissipated almost immediately. I tentatively put my hand to the wood of the door, and it was cool. I lightly touched the doorknob once more and found it chillingly cool. None of the sudden heat that felt like it had burned me a moment ago. Opening my door, the hallway looked dark but clear, and there was no smoke around the other doors or the stairs. Once I opened the door, the haze was lifted, and I was just standing in the door to my room, and the house was so still and quiet. I walked around the house and ensured there was no smoke or fire, and everything was totally normal and untouched. But a slight smell of smoke was present in the house. I must have paced through every room at least 3 times, but I couldn't find the source of the smell. I resigned to opening some windows to air out the house and hoped that was fine. It seems to be gone now, but I occasionally get whiffs of it in the office or the guest room. Sometimes it even seems like my hair or my clothes are clinging to a faint, smoky smell. So strange. Each time I sense a hint of that acrid, burnt smell, it sends me into a slight panic. But there's no source of the smell to be found. It's made me a bit worried about, well, you know. Luckily, my sister stopped by the other day. And oh gosh, Anne, it was so good to see her. And just, well, see anyone really. I talked to her about the strange smoke smells, and her ever-nursing self gave me the full health screening and determined there's nothing to be concerned about my health, at least. She brought by some things I had left at her place years ago and seemed more than happy to finally be rid of them since, as she said, you definitely have more closet space than I do now. All right, so sister came by and visited him. He doesn't seem like a ghost. I couldn't help but notice the slight pang of jealousy in the way she said that, which all but disappeared when I told her about how I haven't received any mail in weeks and still don't have a phone. Oh, how dreadful! You could hear the sarcasm dripping from her words. She really needed to make herself feel a bit better with that comment, I think. We had some tea in my lovely little breakfast nook, and she caught me up with the latest hospital drama before I had a chance to talk to her about the strange things happening in my house. You'll never believe what she said. She suggested that my house might be haunted. Never known my sister to be anything but the most frustratingly logical person, but here she was, sitting at my kitchen table, telling me in all earnestness that my house might have a ghost. I told her that the house isn't that old, so that couldn't have been possible. But she did point out that the house could be older than I realized. The inspector did say the house had been extensively renovated, and so it may be difficult to accurately pinpoint the age of the house. I started really thinking about it after she left, and there may be something to it. This house might be older than it seems, and any house that has been around long enough is sure to have some ghosts, or at least lingering energies from the people who have lived there. I'll admit I've always been uncertain on the topic of ghosts, but what with the strange smells and my evening guest, well, I must say I like the sound of sharing the house with a ghost more than the possibility that stress is affecting me this much. I've decided to take some time to look into the history of the house. I already did a cursory trip to the library and couldn't find much, but the librarian said the archives aren't well organized, so it's not surprising. I found some information on the first person who owned the house, since it seemed like it was quite a big deal here. Enough to make the local papers, that is. It's honestly quite fascinating. I'll be sure to share my findings with you. Who knows, perhaps all this research will make good notes for a new short story or even a book. I'll write soon, Alex. Okay, this is very cool. P.S. The box my sister brought had some books of yours that at this point is a bit of a stretch to say that I borrowed them. I know at least one is a favorite of yours, The Sundial. So I will be sure at least that one isn't subsumed into my library, but I cannot speak for the rest. Please come retrieve them before they end up mine forever. Yes, I am holding your books hostage, so what of it? He really wants Anne. Seems like he's sort of sweet on Anne. He misses her. He wants to keep trying to convince her to come visit. Okay. And then he's written another creepy thing here. It sleeps. It sleeps, and when it wakes, it relives its dream over and over again. The sleeping and waking are no different than time to the thing that waits. It waits until the doors open, and it is time to wake up once more. Time to remember a dream and go through the motions before the dream once more must come to an end. Before the doors close once more again, before the small creatures that dwell within must join it in its slumber. It does seem like someone else, he's going into a trance and writing this. And it almost sounds like it's writing about him as a human, like the human is the thing that wakes and dreams. It would be nice if we got a letter from Anne that was like, why are you writing these creepy things? All right, let's see what he found at the library. He said he found a newspaper clipping. So here's a little newspaper clipping printed on newspaper paper about the first owner of a house, perhaps. Breaking new ground. A new home is set to be built within Lincoln by a Mr. Albrecht, the largest house yet built within the region. The foundation laid only days ago measure in the footprint of the house at a massive 2,730 square feet, 2,730 square feet. While the house is being built on Barbary Road and is some miles from the village proper, resident concerns have arisen of the facade of the soon-to-be erected domicile. Municipal officials have informed Lincoln Post Express that Mr. Albrecht has been in communication about the concerns of the new building's sensibilities and has submitted extensive documentation on the proposed home to ensure that it aligns with village building codes. Other residents are notably excited about the soon-to-be constructed building, taking trips up to Barbary Road in hopes for a preview of the soon-to-be homestead of Mr. Albrecht. Local craftsmen in need of work are recommended to survey the site as building commencement is imminent, and with its immense size, it will undoubtedly be in need of many skilled laborers. And then on the back, looks like it's continued. In addition to the new establishment, Mr. Albrecht himself has been a case of curiosity for some residents as much as his new home. Mr. Albrecht, hailing from the coast, has built up a reputation amongst the craftsmen. A supposed renowned architect, he is purported to be responsible for some of the towering multi-story buildings in York's, both old and new alike. He is known for his unconventional approach to buildings, creating them in a somewhat arcane and labyrinthine manner. While their interior may be a point of confusion for those navigating them, the exterior are a sight of beauty for all those to behold. While it is suspected he will bring his own unconventional approaches to his own domicile, the interiors of a man's home are his business, and a man skilled to create a home as a work of art will surely bring value to our town. Construction is anticipated to be completed by June 1872. So it's over 100 years old, to which we may welcome Mr. Albrecht as a new resident of our fair township. Some believe that this new home and residence signifies a shift for our community into a more modern and industrious age if we manage to attract the urban elite to our small town. Okay, so it's a pretty old building, 120 years old. All right. Next up, he's found a little printout. What does it say here? You're cordially invited to Barbary Road in St. Anne's, Ontario, for the celebration of the completion of Albrecht Manor. Come meet renowned architect and inventor Damien Albrecht as he reveals his greatest work yet, his own home. A wonder of architectural and engineering feats, a domicile built for self-sustainment and with the machinations to fulfill its occupants' dreams. A home that can dream along with its inhabitants. That's creepy. Built for maximum sunlight, maximum warmth, and maximum human emotional stimulation, this house is more than a home, a first of its kind, a home with a heart that ticks like any other. Remember, the house was ticking? Behold the spectacle, all are welcome. This creepy thing here. Is this guy who built this house some kind of a cult person? This is very creepy. May 6, 1862. I'll note that our last letter from our guy is May 17th, 1993. So May and May. All right. But refreshments, entertainment, and the main attraction to be viewed within the parlor. Okay, that's kind of creepy. I don't know what this is all about. All right. And here are some blueprints he found. All right, let's look at them. Okay. So, first floor, library, parlor, sitting room, dining room, foyer, kitchen. What did he say in his letter about he doesn't have a, he just said he doesn't have a lounge. He does have a dining room, but not a lounge. I mean, he does look like he's got a bunch of rooms. But this is the original design. Okay, second floor. There's a question in the chat. Let me finish this and then I'll get to it. Second floor has a chamber, a bathroom, and a dressing room. What the hell's a chamber? Okay, we'll spiral staircase up. And then the top floor, laundry and dry storage. Oh, sorry, not top floor, basement. Basement has laundry and dry storage. Okay, and nothing on the backs of these. All right. Well, we may have to refer to those documents later. All right. Now, there was a question in the chat. When did the newspaper estimate the house would be finished? Construction is anticipated to be finished by June 1872. And then it looks like it finished a little early, May 1842. That's weird. Anticipated to be completed by 1872. and yet it's being opened at 1842. Do you think that's a mistake? And then the question is, do those match his hand-drawn drawing? That's an interesting point of view. Where did he do a drawing of his house at some point? He did do a drawing, didn't he? So here was his drawing of his office. It's just one little office, though. I'm not sure it helps us much. Doesn't really tell us. All right, I don't know what to make of this 1872, 1842. Jonathan says, I don't know if it's a bug, but it's very odd with the dates seeming quite off. Yeah. I don't know what to make of that. We may have to return to that. Okay, next letter is April 14th, so 12 days since our last letter. It is fun that, I mean, we've played a bunch of games where we got to read letters from someone, and it's always fun. It's always like a little bit of peek into someone's life. I've just been reading a book on some science of storytelling, and the author of this book, is talking about theories of human cognition evolution and the idea that it may be we're a very social species, and the idea that a driving force was gossip, the idea of spreading information about reputation of others in the community. And so there may be something very primal about the idea of peeking into someone's private correspondence. All right, so 12 days later. Oh, this looks interesting. All right, let's take a look at this. Hi, Anne. The last 2 weeks have been busy with work, so I haven't had a chance to write to you. It feels good to be busy again, especially after I spent so many days in a haze and feeling out of sorts. I've managed to have my first story published in the newspaper. It's really quite thrilling. I don't think with what they pay I'll be able to live off this at any rate, but it's a start to getting my work out there, that I suppose. Well, my work out there under my own name. We know he used to be a ghostwriter. Who knows how many books I've partially or completely written now that are under some dreadfully incompetent man's name who gets to collect royalty checks from my words. Sorry if I seem a bit... What did he start to write? I seem a bit... something. Sorry if I seem a bit bitter, but I've really been crunching on deadline with this latest book, and it didn't help that I lost almost 2 weeks. I only managed to write a few hundred words over the last 2 weeks, and I'm truly feeling it now. This book is in really rough shape too, and so I've been doing some serious rewrites. I also finally got the first piece of mail in over a month, and it was from work. Ugh. Luckily, there wasn't many edits to get done for the last batch, but the mail came so late I'm having to work on both at the same time. The mail here is so bad, I think I'm going to drive into the city at the end of the week to post these to make sure they get to the publisher on time. May even consider getting a postal box while I'm there. Weekly trips to pick up my mail an hour away seems like a faster method than going through the local post office system. Sorry again for just complaining. The last few weeks have felt so long and hazy, and I'm quite tired. Another thing that doesn't help is my evening guest seems to have invited friends. There's a ghost in my house, which I'm starting to think maybe there is. It's incredibly rude of them to invite more spectral guests into my house without my permission. There is now creaking floorboards happening both upstairs and downstairs, as well as opening and closing doors, and it even sounds like they've taken to opening the windows. It's quite peculiar, though, as sometimes I'll be in a room and it sounds like someone is opening a window, but I turn and look and it's still closed. I even set up a tape recorder in my office running overnight, and you can hear the sounds happening. Just a cacophony of creaks and groans of wood, and the door hinges squeaking, and the scraping of the windows moving in their frame. There are sometimes the sounds of quiet shuffling footsteps into the room, muffled whispers, and a low, quiet breathing. I'm hoping those are from me, and I've started sleepwalking because those sounds are a bit too, well, alive for a ghost, and I honestly find them extremely unsettling. It even picked up sounds I'm not quite sure how it could have. There's a strange faint sound on the tape, like that of an old clock, a ticking, but also the quiet click and whir of gears. I don't even have a clock in my office, so I don't know where the sound could be coming from. I haven't seen my guest yet, and I have to say I'm quite grateful for it, as I've been able to sleep in my bed again, albeit a bit fitfully. And if I had to see some strange apparition in the night, I don't think I could handle it. The noises I'm getting used to, but seeing strange figures would be a bit too much. When I do sleep, my dreams are strange. I've been having this dream that bleeds into reality until I'm not really sure which is which. I'm lying in bed and I hear the sound of a quiet but urgent conversation happening just outside my bedroom. I wander out into the hallway to find a steep set of stairs going up at the end of the hall. End of the hall I've never seen before. As I walk along the hallway, it stretches and shrinks with each step, getting longer and shorter as I move. Voices echo through the hallway in a way where I cannot place them. I move, listening intently, but it seems every time I get closer, the voices sound further away. Feels like I've walked for hours through this hallway until I can finally hear them clearly. The voices sound like they may be coming from some sort of attic. And the closer I get to the stairs, the more hushed the talking becomes. Unsteadily making my way up the stairs, I hear the wood beneath my feet groan and creak, and I hope I won't alarm the people upstairs. I can hear the talking become louder and more rushed the closer I get to the top of the stairs, so I move so quietly, trying not to make a single sound. Moving so slowly, I'm not even sure if I'm moving. But once my head peeks into the room, there's nothing. The voices stop, and instead I'm looking into a beautiful open, airy loft. The ceilings are slanted, but they don't make the room feel small or dim. With windows set into the roof, light cascades into the room and fills it up. The room feels warm and soft. The walls are painted a lovely shade of pastel yellow, and there's hardwood flooring throughout that seems only slightly marred by time. The room is empty save for a small daybed and a dresser. Sitting on the bed, I find it plush and warmed by the sun, and before I know it, I'm lying down in the bed, falling asleep. But I cannot sleep, as a strange ticking begins within the room. The slow tick, tick, tick grabs at the edges of my sleep and pulls them further and further away from me until I eventually open my eyes. The room is darker now, and the ticking continues outside of my dreams. The room is so sparse that the only place the ticking could be coming from is the small dresser. Walking over to it, I open the top drawer to find it filled with old photos, but I can never make out what or who's in them. They're just grainy and blurry, and when I try to flip over the photo to read the back, it's just a jumble of scratches. And I get so lost in trying to read the writing, I cannot hear the ticking getting faster. The tick, tick, tick begins matching my own racing heart until a loud bell sounds and I'm startled awake. I find myself sitting upright in bed, sweating and breathing heavily, and the room is so resoundingly quiet. I swear there are days that walking down the hallways feels like that stretching and shrinking, and I'm on edge just waiting for a bell to sound and for me to wake up once more. The images in my dreams feel so vivid and real, it has me curious if this house has an attic I don't know about. The real estate agent never said it did, but perhaps it's hidden somehow. Maybe I'll spend an afternoon to see if I can find it. XX Alex. P.S. I'll send you a copy of my story once it's been printed. I'm making you the official something of all my memories, archivist of all my memories and achievements. I know it's an incredible honor, and you are so welcome. All right, now he's drawn a very detailed diagram of a mechanism with gears, and he's written it ticks. This is like a madman's diagram. All right. So far, pretty creepy. Okay, our next letter is April 17th, 5 days later. In the chat, John says, can we match up with the diagram of the floor of the old house with the two chambers? So can you be a little more, oh, the two chambers, I say yes, the two chambers. So on the second floor, I wonder if we need to be careful about letters. On the second floor were the two chambers, which are above the dining room and sitting room, it looks like. So that's the first floor, and the second floor above them are these two chambers. Where's the bedroom? Is that what it is? The old way you would write bedroom is chamber? So that's his bedroom? And that's the basement. No mention of an attic. But what about the photos of the place? So there's the outside. It looks like there probably might be an attic, right? Like ground floor, second floor, little attic. There's this diagram. Does the diagram of the mechanism line up with any floor plans from the house? I see. You're saying, like, is this the house on top of the house? I don't think there's no easy way to line that up. We can come back to if it makes sense. This looks like the drawing of a madman to me, though. Okay, our next letter is April 17th, 3 days after our previous letter. Only 3 days after our previous letter. More photographs. Whole bunch of photographs. And small photographs. Okay, that's weird. Let's see. It's all handwritten. All right, this is a weird letter. Let's see what's happened here. Anne, I found the attic. There weren't stairs into it through the hallways like in my dreams, but a small door hidden in the wood paneling in the closet of the guest room. When I opened it, I found a narrow crawl space with a set of stairs that led me up into the attic. The room was almost like my dream, but the windows were covered over and it was filled with dust and had fallen into disrepair. And the dresser was there, Anne, and it was filled with photos. I don't understand, Anne. How is this attic here? How are these all the same house? And here are the photos. But we should take our break first. So I'll see you in 8 minutes. We'll take a look at these photos in the secret attic. We're back playing through Curios Albrecht Manor. It's pretty creepy, and we've just hit an important point, which is about the halfway point. And he's found a hidden entrance to the attic. And we've got two sets of photos, some small ones and some large ones. And he's also surprised that when he found the attic, it looks almost like my dream. In fact, he seems to have a dream back in time. He's like, it's just like my dream, except now the windows are covered over and there's dust. He says the actual dresser, remember in his dream, he opened up a dresser and it was full of photos and he couldn't make out the writing on the back of them, etc. How are all these the same house? I guess he's talking about the photos. All right, so let's look at these photos together. So we've got a pile of small and a pile of big. So it looks like there's some older photos and some newer photos. So the house looks completely, doesn't look like this house at all anymore. And then here's a Christmas tree with lots of presents and with two kids. What's written on the back? Just the normal writing. We haven't been paying too much attention to the writing on the back of these photos, but maybe we need to start thinking about it. Like, are these years? Let's look at the back of one of these. Okay, the small ones don't have, I mean, they do have watermark from the printing paper, but the small ones don't have, oh yeah, some of them do, actually. So this small one, 1664410 JPEG. 251471, 251472. That's weird. Don't know if that's an artifact of the game or important. We may have to look at these later. All right, so what have we got here? We've got, looks like a mother and two boys, and then here, that was maybe the two boys. Do we have a year on the back of these? Can we make sense of what year this was? Probably not, given that this number from this old photo is about the same. So, I mean, obviously this isn't year. I don't think we know when this is. But if you had to guess from looking at it, you might guess this was, I don't know, 60s? Some people are really good at that, but I guess from style of the house, color of the prints, little bit of the kitchen behind us with the stove, you might guess this was 60s or 70s, I think. Somewhere in the 50s to 70s range. They've got a radio antenna, like some kind of tower in the back, like a lights for a stadium maybe. And then, so we've got two modern photos, looks like two boys, and then we've got some older photos. Take a look at these. That's a spooky photo. That's a spooky photo. All right, let's take a look at these. So we've got a family here with a baby. He says these are all the same house, he thinks. Any writing on the back of this one? Not very helpful writing, that's for sure. And what are we looking at here? Is that a calendar? Can we make out anything in that calendar? Not really the year, huh? Like an office, a door, desk, steam radiator is what you're looking at here. Can't really make out the books. Next up, we have a woman and a horse. We've got some weird artifact in the photo. Snowing winter, we don't know who this is. It's like the same big house thing. Nothing on the back of that one. What's going on here? Looks like someone is taking a photo out of a window of a woman out on the roof who doesn't notice the photographer. Weird. Although that could be completely harmless. You could imagine a woman's going out to fix something or get something, and the person is so amused by it that they took a photo. No writing on the back of that. Then we've got a woman sitting on the edge of the porch looking kind of scary. Trellis. Then we've got a little gathering of women here having food. Nothing really jumps out there. Then we've got another shot of a room, and it looks like the same room from up here. So these rooms are these are the same room here. There's our calendar, door, door. So on the left, and then the camera's shifted right a bit. Looks like probably a office here, maybe a bed here. A little statue. Creepy little statue here. That's pretty creepy. Little portable candle holder. Nothing else jumps out there though. I'll note that some of these pictures that are clearly the same room have this black border and a yellowish tint, as does this photo, as does this photo. So it's almost like we've got two sets of photos here, maybe of different families. Like here's one set, and here's another, although this has got the yellow tint. What's happening here? What have we got here? Is this the bed over here and dresser with mirror? Nothing really jumping out about this to me. Lots of photos. All right. Well, no one interesting in the photo. As far as writing on the back, 2, 4, 3 of 4. Does that mean it's 2 of 4, 3 of 4? Like, are these the 4 of 4? 8, 9. I don't know if we're supposed to make sense of those. 4 of 4. 10. It seems like these might be related then. Maybe there's a way for us to... 1 of 4, 7. Okay, so actually, look at this. 1 of 4, 7. 2 of 4, 8. 3 of 4, 9. 4 of 4, 10. So if you were to line these up in their order, they're like this. Which is kind of weird because this one, which has nothing on it, on the back, is clearly that same room and related to that. So I don't know if we can trust those writings on the back. All right. What's at the far end of the women? Let's see if there's any questions in the chat. What's at the far end of the women having tea? I mean, there's some blurry scene back here, but I'm not sure we can read anything into the fact that we can't quite make it out. Looks like an authentically old photo that's just a bit blurred. The old house is phasing into the present and merging with the new house. Old photo wouldn't have JPEG on the back. I think it's nothing, just an artifact of the printout. So I guess I would tend to agree with that. It does feel like maybe the house is 1 of 6, 2 of 6. Yeah, I don't know. But it does feel like maybe this house is moving through time or something. All right, let's put these together. Let's move on. I wouldn't be so concerned with the backs, except that he says in his dream he can't make sense of the weird writing on the backs. Okay, so our next letter is from April 25th. Matt is going to sleep. Okay, what have we got here? Some newspaper, whole bunch of newspaper clippings. All right. Oops, sorry, I wasn't showing you this. All right, let's see what he says here. Dear Anne, sorry about my strange and abrupt last letter. I was caught by surprise, and I just needed to show you what I found before I even understood it myself. I think at this point I'm sending these letters to you just to catalog the strange days and weeks I'm having. Someone else has to see and hear about what's going on. I finished all my work deadlines, so I've been able to take some time to research the house, and I think my sister's theories on the house being haunted are unfortunately correct. It appears the house has burned down a few times, starting with the original house and then in subsequent decades afterwards. I'm not entirely sure the extent of the fire damage, but it seems like it's been salvageable each time to repair and renovate the house so it wasn't completely lost. It does seem, unfortunately, like in some instances the families have, well, perished within the home, which is absolutely dreadful. I wish the real estate agent had told me the history of this place when I was considering buying it, but I don't even know if he had to disclose something like that, even if he knew. It's all so strange and frightening, Anne, but I suppose it does make the noises make sense now. I think I'll regard my evening guests with a bit more compassion now, knowing their fates. Also, it does maybe explain the strange smell of smoke that still sometimes wafts through the house. I didn't think the attic smelled like smoke at all, but ever since discovering it on the second floor has been smelling of smoke again. I keep all the windows open at night to try to dissipate the smell, but it's not entirely working. I may have to go buy some room sprays or something, even though I find them tacky. Just anything to help mask the smell. I'm a bit too uneasy about lighting candles, considering the house's history. I think I'll need to do more research into the house for my own posterity. It'd be good to know as a homeowner exactly what has happened to this house and if it'll cause me any expensive problems down the line. As well as it'd be good to know more about my spectral inhabitants. I don't know why, but I feel like maybe knowing more about them will help me cohabitate with them more easily, or at least it'll be good to know who lived here if I need to ask them politely by name to keep it down at night. Since discovering the attic, they've gotten more lively, it seems, and I even hear creaks and groans from up there now, too. Sometimes it even sounds like the windows being opened, even though I know that can't be possible. After finding the attic and with all these new revelations about the house, I feel determined to catalog the whole thing. No more surprise secret rooms in my future. If they exist, I will find them now. Perhaps my earlier haze-filled musings about the house being bigger than it is aren't incorrect. I feel more days of exploration are in my near future. I will update you on any thrilling developments on this new mystery. Alex. Okay, and then here are some news clippings he found. Does he say anything about how he got these? Let's see what we've got here. So, he said the house was burned down a bunch of times. For sale. 2742 Barbary Road, 12,600, 2-bed, 1.5 bath, includes garage, den on quiet, peaceful rural road, close to town, but with room for something. Then some other ads about rent to own, don't have a date, but look at this, 1963. St. Anne's, May 21st, 1963. Sometime this weekend, a fire broke out at the home at the end of Barbary Road. Neighbors to the home at 2742 Barbary Road noticed smoke just after midnight. Called the local fire department. Firefighters arrived on scene at 1:02 a.m. to find the house engulfed in flames. All attempts to extinguish the fire were made, but by that point the blaze had reached dangerous levels, and so containment and management of the fire became priority. Fire ceased burning by 6:31 a.m., and the firefighters began an investigation into the cause of the fire. Initial reports from the fire marshal indicate that no accelerants were present in the burned remains, so there's no suspicion of arson or foul play. However, due to the intensity of the blaze and the length for which the house burned, some additional investigation is needed to account for the potential materials present in the home that contributed to the fire. No accelerants, I don't think it's arson, but something had to be responsible for how long and intensely it burned. The current residents, the Rocha family, were not present outside of the home when the firefighters arrived, nor did an initial attempt into the house by firefighters indicate the family was inside at the time of the fire. If you have any information about the fire or the whereabouts of the Rocha family, please contact the West Lincoln Police Department. So, fire burned down the house, occupants disappeared, just like our guy. So, is history repeating itself? I think we should take a note of the dates here. May 21st, 1963, fire, Rocha family. Okay. And then what's happening here? It's up for sale? What does that mean? That it's listed on one page, up for sale, no mention of fire, and does it mean that they were trying to sell it? Is that what happens when you try to leave, the house burns you down? Is that what's happened? They put it up for sale, a couple days later, fire. All right, let's look next. Housing directory for sale. Okay, someone's selling the house. Okay. Early morning blaze, 1903. Early morning, a fire broke out May 20th on Barbary Road. Neighboring residents attempted to extinguish the blaze, but the fire grew exponentially. The home ceased burning late into the afternoon. Residents present at the fire noted that the Blanc family, who owned the home, were not present and were presumed to be inside the home at the time of the fire, but confirmation is not possible due to the extent of the damage. Okay, May 23, again May, 1903, fire, Blanc residence, Blanc family. In both cases, they're trying to sell it when they burned up. Okay. Housing directory for sale. 2742 Barbary Road, recent construction. 10 rooms. Notice it's very different house. Look at this. So here, it's a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. Here it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Here it's a 10-room, 2-bath. All right. The house is changing. Is it because it's being rebuilt and they're just rebuilding it differently? Dry storage property on 30 acres. Natural well water. Okay, and here's another fire. Breaking news, May 23rd. Again, exact same day of the year, May 23rd. But this time, 1873. Late in the eve on the 20th of May, a fire started out on a home at the end of Barbary Road. The blaze was not noticed until early hours of the morning, when the fire grew to such heights it was visible to neighboring homes over the tree line. Neighboring residents attempted to still the blaze, but the flames had grown too tall to quell. The fire was contained until the house was mostly demolished. The owner, Mr. Albrecht, was not found outside of the home and has not been seen in the hours since, leading to residents to fear he may have perished. So this is our Albrecht guy. But surely he wasn't trying to sell his house. I guess he was. I guess he was trying to sell his house. Right after he built it? May 23rd, 1873. Where was our... Let's just remind ourselves of this information. May 6, 1842 is when he originally built it. And then the article said they expected it to be built by 73 or something, 1872. That feels like it might be a typo. 1842, 1870. Maybe this is the typo. This should be 1872. They expected it to be built by 72. He built it, and then he tried to sell it the next year. I think that might be the most likely reading. This fire was, good point. Articles the 23rd. Fire was on the 20th. What about the previous one? May 20th. Okay, sorry, 20th. So both happened on the 20th, 1903, 1873. What about this one? May 21st. Sometime this weekend. So this could also be exactly on May 20th. All right, and then we've got another one. I think this is going to be our no. Newly built residence, 8-room, 2-bath, dry storage, 20 acres of land. Barbary Road. Anticipated to complete construction in 3 months' time. Predicted opening date of November 12th, 1933. Sometime in the night of May 20th. Wow, on exactly the same day each year. Sometime in the night of May 20th, it was reported that a house on Barbary Road caught fire and burned down during the night. The fire went unnoticed, and neighbors to the home on Barbary Road woke in the morning to find the house smoking and demolished. Fire wardens inspected the remains of the house in the afternoon, and the sites of ignition seemed to originate from the interior of the house. The fire is estimated to have slowly burned over multiple hours in the night. No accelerants are suspected to have contributed to the fire. The current residents, the Hoekstra family, have not been seen. It's uncertain from the state of the house if they were present during the fire. A search will be conducted by the fire wardens and neighbors to locate the Hoekstra family following the tragic loss of their home. Okay, so we've got another May 20th. It looks like 1933. And the fire is the Hoekstra family. So everyone's having their house burned on the May 20th. I see something else. Yep. The channel saw it too before me. But look at what we've noticed. Every 30 years. Yep. I just noticed that too. So we've got 1873, the first guy built it. 30 years later, 1903. 30 years after that, 1933. 30 years after that, 1963. And our 1993 is our Alex Dunn, the person whose letters we're reading. That's pretty messed up. Maybe we can warn the next owner in 2023. How creepy is that? Like, I got some bad news for you. We're past May. So, actually, this would have already happened. All right. It seems like, I wonder if there's a reason they're putting it, like maybe this is all, it's all coming to a head and they try to put it up for, say, hey, look at this, what I just noticed. Postcard dated May 20th, 2023. So actually, our last thing we're going to look at is a postcard from 2023, May 20th. All right, well, what can we do? Pretty creepy. All right, we've got 3 letters left and the postcard. Let's see the next letter. Pretty scary. All right, so this letter is April 30th, 5 days after the previous letter. It looks like he's making some more sketches, some sort of report. Okay, let's see. Anne, as promised, here are some developments on my mysterious house, and I fear they paint a bit of a grim picture. Thank goodness the library here exists mostly as a local archive and less of a library, or else I don't think I'd be able to find anything. I managed to scour through some old census documents and figure out the house's history a little. It's going to be that this house was built on some bad land, isn't it? I've been able to find the names of those that lived here when the fires happened, but no one else seems to have lived in the house after them for a while. The first family to move in since Albrecht was the Blanc family, who moved in 1900 and the house burnt down in 1903. No one lived in the house for nearly 30 years until the Hoekstra family moved in 1931, and again the house caught fire in 1933, and the house sat empty once more. Then after them, it seems the Roaches moved in 1962, and the house burnt down once more in 1963. All right, so people are living there for a couple years before the burn down. Only 1 year in the house, the last family. Seems like the house is renovated only for it to burn down again. I wonder what the problem could be. Incredibly faulty wiring that keeps going unnoticed? feel like I need to find out what exactly is going on with this house if it's such a fire hazard. Marjorie, the librarian, who I believe you'd adore, by the way, has been helping me wrangle all these files together and kindly offered to get her husband involved. Apparently, he works for the municipality in approving building permits and the sort, so he would be able to get me the files about my house to look over to see if there's anything wrong. He found the inspection report from when the last owners purchased the house, and it seems like nothing was wrong. He's going to do more digging on the house for me to see what the renovations looked like. I've been doing some mapping and exploring of the house myself these days. It's not by any means professional, but it's good to keep track of things, I suppose. I mapped out the first floor and the second floor, and now I have the attic as well. In my explorations, I've been able to find out this house does indeed have a basement, but it's less of a basement and more of a cellar. There's another one of those hidden panel wooden doors under the stairs that opens up to a steep set of stairs down into the cellar. It's so old, it doesn't have a light at all, so I have to bring a flashlight every time I venture down there, which I admit has only been twice. It's not much more than a hole in the ground with some old cobbled stonework making up the walls and floors. There isn't anything down there like in the attic, but even the sight of it is unnerving. I don't know if I'm even glad it's there. It's quite a frightful sight. I suppose it's better knowing than not knowing. I truly wish I knew what was going on with this house. It's so strange in how it's laid out with its secret rooms. I still don't have a phone line, and even the electricity has been getting spotty, with it flickering on and off at times. Not sure if I can chalk that up to the wiring or my ghosts. I've been hearing more creaks and groans than ever these days, and while I'm sure some of it has to do with the house warming up from the weather, it's starting to be a bit much. I almost feel like the house itself is restless. I feel a bit that way myself, too. Okay, so he's drawn some sketches. He's tried to sketch out. Okay, so here's our ground floor, first floor. He's sketched out the patio, the secret stairs to the cellar. There's the creepy cellar and the stairs going down into it. Going into the house. It says, here's his long, confusing hallway to nowhere. Oh, look at that. You could take the hallway. It doesn't go anywhere. Stairs to second floor. And then in the closet is the secret stairs up to the attic, where there's the dresser and an old bed. Creepy. And then here was the report that the husband of the librarian woman found about the last renovations. Prepared for Stephen Rocha. This is the occupants of the Rocha family, which were the 1963 owners before our guy, Alex, buys it. 2-story wood building. There's a cellar below grade. It's not occupied. Hodgson and Sons did the inspection. Living room good, kitchen fair, dining room, bathroom, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3. Potential update to flooring joists in the laundry room. Plumbing is good, cabinets are fair. Showers, fine. Area is inaccessible at time of location when they were doing the inspection. Cellar, door down to the cellar was locked, so they didn't look down in the cellar. House is in good condition, save for some warping of the wood in the cabinetry in the kitchen. Purchaser inquired as to the age of the house. No documents from previous owners are available. I was tasked with estimating the house's age, based on materials used. Estimates place house being built within the last 28 years or 20 years based on superficial evidence. Would need access to the cellar to observe the wooden framework to accurately place the decade of construction, 1962. Okay. And so remember, the house burned down after this. Okay. 2 more letters left. This next one's a big, thick one. Feels like maybe we should have gotten more from that report. House burns down. They rebuild it. Okay, so I got a big letter here. Let's see what we've got. Some diagrams, some reports, and a letter. Oh boy, this is weird. What's happening here with this letter? What's going on here? Why is it all discombobulated? Hey, look, he's done something here, hasn't he? Look, all of the letters so far have looked like this. Wait a second, that's not quite true. There's like an outline of this at the faded on this. Let me just look back a little bit here. Oh boy, it's changing every time. Look. Look how it's changing. I feel like it was this for a long time. Uh-huh. So it was this one for a long time. But then recently it's been changing. And now it's gone completely haywire. And this guy is losing his mind. Anne, I've been having the strangest dreams again, not the fire or the attic. This is new. I fear I've also taken to sleepwalking. Some nights I leave my office to go up to bed and I'm absolutely dead tired, but as I'm leaving, I end up hearing music drifting through the hallway. I turn back and walk past my office to the front of the house to find a slightly open door. Pushing the door open, I'm met with a gorgeous room bathed in the warmest of orange tungsten light, and I can't place what room in my house this is. The walls have dark wood paneling and low blue velvet couches surrounding a small oval table in the middle of the room. There's a piano in the corner that seems like it's the source of the music, but no one's playing it. He's like shifting back in time to the previous houses. The other side of the room, there's a small bar with a number of liquors and crystal decanters. Along the walls are these beautiful oak cabinets that are filled with all manner of strange things. There are some books which I cannot seem to read, but contain the strangest diagrams of intersecting angles and equations. There are small mechanisms that seem to move on their own, twisting and turning and clicking gears. The longer I stare at them, the less I understand what they could possibly be or how they propel themselves. I spend some time wandering about the room, listening to the music, sitting and luxuriating on the fine couches. That's when I notice a strange glass panel on the wall and something moving behind it. I walk up to it and it looks like the insides of a clock, but without a clock face. That was that weird ticking diagram he drew. I can see a number of gears turning, and they seem to be moving and articulating long rods that move out into the walls of the house that I cannot see. That's what that diagram was. The way the gears move and click is hypnotically rhythmic, like a heartbeat. I find myself lost in the sound for a few moments before a loud bang from outside the parlor startles me, and I walk out to check, seeing that the door to my office had slammed shut. When I turn around to go back into the parlor, my hand reaches out, expecting to feel cold brass for the doorknob, but instead touches nothing. At the touch of the cool wall to my fingertips, I jolt back into reality. The door I was expected to be there isn't there because it was never there. This house is just all filled with dream stairs and doors to me now. I'm not entirely sure what's real and what isn't a dream. Starting to think it was all a dream. I saw Marjorie again, and her husband gave me a collection of housing registries and the blueprint of my house, along with the last inspection notes, and nothing is right. This isn't my house. Where is the attic, the hallway, the cellar? That thing must be at least 100 years old. It's not on any of the documents, and the rooms are all wrong. Don't know what to make of these housing assessments either. How was the lot ever vacant? I don't quite know what's going on, Anne, but I don't think this is my house. And that's a good indication. Okay, nothing on the back of this. And then what have we got here? Assessment prepared for Alex Dunn. 2 stories, nothing below grade, no sign of a cellar. Client present during inspection, yes. $250 check paid to inspect the house. Bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bathroom 2. Plumbing is fair. No areas inaccessible. House is good condition. Potential need for plumbing. Purchaser inquired as to age of the house, unknown to real estate agent, unable to contact previous owners. Cursory inspection estimates house being built within the last 30 years based on superficial evidence. Noted would need to tear down walls to view the framework underneath. Purchaser declined. So it feels like the house completely burns down every 30 years. They build a new house on top of it, but then it starts merging with the previous houses. And here is the diagram of the first floor of his house. Completely different house. What's this? It's like a shadow of the old house. A little bit weird. Not sure what that's about. And then we have these reports. Let's see what these are. Assessments 1899, 1950, 1961, 1992. All right, so let's look at this. This is the history of basically tax assessments. So when he bought the house, what are we looking at here? Is it that in 63 the Roaches owned it? Is he saying that it was a vacant house? Oh yeah, 2742. So it was a vacant lot the year he bought it, the year before he bought it. And then, look, it's marked as a vacant lot in 61. 450 by 80, 450 by 80. Okay. And then it's a vacant lot in 1930. 450 by 80. Same size lot. $18.99, still a vacant, also a vacant lot by the time it was bought for the 1903 family. So every time the house is sold, it's been completely demolished and built up from a vacant lot. Wait. It's actually interesting. So the year before our guy buys it, it's a vacant lot. 2 years before these guys buy it. No, not 2 years before they buy it. 2 years. When did they move in? I'm just trying to figure out, like, we know it's been reduced to a vacant lot, but is the house being rebuilt, or is it like growing on its own anew? Because why don't they have records of it being built? Right? That's the part that that's a little strange to me now. Is it that this house is not being rebuilt by humans, but is... Because wouldn't they have records of that? But there doesn't seem to be any records. Like, none of these people are buying the land. They're buying a built house on the land that's already built and lived in and aged. It's being sold as a vacant lot. It's empty at some point. And it's empty before these people buy it. Our guy buys it and moves in 1993 in March. But a year before that, it's vacant. Who has built this house? If it's vacant in 92 and he buys this used, broken down house in 93, something's going wrong here. Think about it. He's buying the house in 93, right? Here he is having it inspected. It's not a new house. It's in fair condition. Everything's good. Window needs replacement. But in 92, he's buying it in 93. A year ago, it was vacant. Something's wrong here. It's gone from vacant to a 30-year-old old house, but no one's built it. It's just a new house has appeared. Which is why his statement here, he's saying in this letter, he's saying, how was the lot ever vacant? He's in a house, it's 100 years old, but the reports say last year it was vacant lot. And we should take this moment to acknowledge that Jonathan says, good find, Jesse. Check the dates on the houses for sale. We don't have exact dates on the houses for sale. We just know that they were posted for sale in the same newspaper that they burned down. So presumably the person posted it for sale and then a week later it burned down. All right, so this is huge. These houses are somehow appearing out of thin air. Well, we only have one more letter left. The chat wants to look at the ads again, but I don't think the ads have dates. They don't. All the ads say were, these are the dates we have when the burn down happen on the 20th every 30 years. And we know in the same article that's telling us about the house burning down, the people put their house up for sale. All right, we've got our last letter. We're going to take a break before we read this. I wouldn't be surprised if this letter doesn't say, "Hey, Anne, I've decided to put the house up for sale." But first, we'll take a break. I'll see you in 8 minutes. I feel bad for this person, this postcard we got from May 2023, but at least we got 30 years for the next one. All right, I'll see you in 8 minutes. We're back playing Curios Albrecht Manor, playing in the loosest terms. We're basically reading letters, hearing about this story, trying to make sense of it. So DJ Moneycut in the channel proposed an interesting idea that is the house getting smaller? I was thinking regarding the photos, I don't think there are real clues to be found in the photos. It seems like this house is morphing over time, burning down and then rebuilding itself almost as a used house. I propose the idea, it's conceivable if we look at the floor plans, we'll find that there's one room that's always present. He had a dream about seeing the clockwork thing, and I wonder if we couldn't identify what room that was in. DJ was saying, is the house getting smaller? So I thought we would get these out and take a look again. So here it's from 1873 to 1903, 1933, 1963. So let's see if it is getting smaller. 10 rooms, 2 baths, kitchen, dry storage on 30 acres. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. So this one is increased in a bath. Just says 4 bedrooms, doesn't say the others. Now we've gone to 8 rooms, 2 baths, kitchen, dry storage, 20 acres. So from here to here, we've lost 10 acres of land, dropped 2 rooms, but it still has dry storage. But then here, intermediate, it seems like it's gotten a lot smaller. No mention of land. Modest acreage. And then when we get down to here, we've got a tiny house. 2 bed, 1.5 bath, and a garage and a den. No mention of land. So I'm not sure there's a logic to where it's moving. It does seem like it was biggest originally, but I don't know that there's many more logic to it. We might want to put in our notes the idea that could we find the heart of this place based on where he said he saw the clock. But it's time to, I think, open our last letter. But before I do, let me just see if there's anything more in the chat to discuss. Expands and contracts like a heartbeat. Maybe check the overall floor plan from the back of that paper. Looked at it in a light to see if anything pops up. So the interesting point is here's our floor plan. And we notice that when we look on the other side, we can sort of see where maybe the original house plan was. I mean, it doesn't feel like... I mean, the whole center house is the same. I don't know. Let's return to it. If we get a question of some sort. So far, it doesn't seem like there's anything for us to answer. Oh, it's his little clockwork diagram again. That's it. He's putting it up for sale. Yep, he's putting it up for sale. And there's his crazy clockwork diagram. All right, he's no longer typing anymore. And it's all a dream, isn't it? And his house has now been merged. These are all the different houses are now merged into one. And look what day it is, May 20th. And this is it. This will be the last day he's heard from. It's all a dream, isn't it? Or at least some of it seems to be. The blueprints didn't match up because the house isn't really a house, Anne. Or at least it used to be. My house used to be part of something real, but now it's just a fraction of something else pulled out of a dream, out of time. All of these times, the house burned down. It was just gone until it wasn't anymore. This was the point I was making. Until there was a new house that was the old house and a new family could move in. Time to something and dream. Time to cut and dream. Sit and dream. The house has been dreaming as much as I have. New rooms built from the old. But it can never leave it all behind. Houses are always cellars and attics, and the things in between are but clay to shape and mold to hold the things that houses hold. Furniture, pictures, dust, people, dreams. It's all in the documents, Claire. You can see how many times the house has lived when it hasn't. You can see how many times the house has lived when it hasn't. How many times it's dreamed itself into what we want it to be. How many times a cycle repeats, a recurring dream. It was always Albrecht's house, all our houses. They were just pieces of a dream he had almost 100 years ago, and we're trapped in the dream. His house was the dream, but the house started dreaming on its own. It used to live and breathe, but now it can only dream. It can only shape its walls and want to be a new home before it all happens again, before the dream has to end. A cycle that repeats like clockwork. Its dream is a lovely dream, though. My house is so big now. The beautiful parlor has returned. More bedrooms. I even finally have a dining room with a long table with beautiful hand-woven table runners. The other dreamers are here too in the rooms, in their own rooms. I'm frightened what will happen when the house wakes up. Something is coming soon, Anne. I can smell the smoke in my dreams. I can hear the ticking like a heartbeat. Forever yours, Alex. And there's the ticking clock, heart of the house that's eventually going to wake up. And then here's Alex Dunn has written an article in the paper, written by Alex Dunn. Sleepless nights I wander through endless corridors to find the door that isn't there. I reach out, fingers expecting to meet metal, to grasp and turn, but instead they meet plaster, hard but slowly yielding under my touch. My hand sinks in slowly into the wall until I find myself subsumed slowly into the dark, unsteady places of the house, where I expect to meet silence, a stillness that only an old house can know. Instead, there is a resonance, a ticking, ringing out, echoing within the walls. Each beam and board behind the walls is ticking, ticking, ticking. Moving through the walls, I can see rooms beyond doors without windows. The walls fold into each other like the spiraling petals of flowers, all connecting to a center where deep within I can hear it buzzing. It sleeps. It sleeps, and when it wakes, it relives its dream over and over again. The sleeping and waking are no different than time to the thing that waits. It waits until the doors open, and it is time to wake up once more. Time to remember a dream and go through the motions before the dream once more must come to an end, before the doors close once more again, before the small creatures that dwell within must join it in its slumber. As I walk along the hallway, it stretches and shrinks with each step, getting longer and shorter as I move. Voices echo through the hallway in a way where I cannot place them. I move listening intently, but it seems every time I get closer, the voices sound farther away. Feels like I've walked for hours through this hallway until I can finally hear them clearly. A house untethered from its maker, a house born of house from ashes and dream, a house that has started, ended time and time again across centuries. Dream beget dream until the dreamers become entangled. Each sleepless form wanders the walking halls of an unending dream. A dream that takes the shape of each dreamer needs it to be. Before the dream has to end, a cycle that repeats like clockwork. Rooms like corridors of the mind connect pathway to pathway, dreamer to dreamer, and we all rest here. Another dream is ending. My mind wanders in its sleep. It paces walls like corridors in search of those that share the keys. Each night we sleep the same last night. We all rest until the dream begins anew. New minds join the cacophony, and once again the front doors open. Visitors is written by Alex Dunn, a new resident to West Lincoln and a fiction writer and editor, and he's decided to sell. 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom ranch style home on a secluded semi-rural area. He's decided to sell, or it's decided to sell itself. Called Damien. That's a little scary. This is the first time we have an agent listing it, and it's Damien. Three-bedroom, one-bathroom ranch. House will be listed for sale as of June 1993. This will be a hot listing, so inquire about getting a viewing today. That's creepy. Damien Albrecht was the guy's name, huh? That says the channel. Let's find Damien's original listing. Let's find his original announcement, because maybe this is what it's all coming back to. You are cordially invited for the celebration of the completion of Albrecht Manor. Come meet the renowned architect and inventor Damien Albrecht as he reveals his greatest work yet, his own home. It's a home that can dream along with its inhabitants. More than a home, it's the first of its kind, a home with a heart that ticks like any other. Behold the spectacle, all are welcome. Hey, remember when we were confusing the dates? And it was 1842 and expected to be finished by 1872? That's our 30-year gap. So the main attraction to be viewed within the parlor. So I wonder if the parlor isn't the key room where its heart is. Okay, but this is very interesting. It looks like Damien, very good catch, that Damien has built this dreaming house that's going through these cycles of dreaming. It dreams itself into existence, gets a new buyer, kills them off, wakes up, begins the cycle again. What's up with the weird logo? Yeah, we don't know. Is that like the logo there? Pretty creepy. It looks like he built it in 1842 and then it built again in 1872 or something like that. This guy's creepy. Seems like he purposely built this crazy house. Damien Albright is some sort of warlock. And I wouldn't be surprised if the parlor wasn't the key room. Okay, so our last thing to read. First of all, is there anything to notice in here? Like, it is got these weird black things. Like, is there something that we can make sense of this? Some sort of message in all these weird black parts? It almost looks like they're letters of some sort. Oh, is the logo matching that? That's a good catch. Yeah, I think you're right. That's it. Look at that. Good catch. I mean, it was my good catch to look at this, to stare at it and look at the black, but I think you're right. I think this is this. I think you're absolutely right. There's our center, and you can see this little curl off to a blob is our curl off to a blob. That little triangle is this little triangle here. This little thing here is right there. All right, well done. I think we've got it. I think we've figured out that is that. Anything else you can, yeah, look at it. It's absolutely the same thing. It's absolutely the same thing. I wonder if this stuff is anything. Is this some sort of secret message he's written? Almost looks like it is, doesn't it? At first we thought it was just a design, but now it almost looks like there's some sort of message in here. But it's absolutely the case that this is this clock. Well done. Pretty cool. Okay. And he does say the main attraction is in the parlor, but there's no way to make sense of this, huh? Really does kind of look like writing, doesn't it? On the other hand, it's all long at the tops and short in the bottom. That would argue against it being a message. In fact, is it repeating? It would be nice to rule out that this is a message. Kind of hard to see it like this, but if I pull back a bit, it feels like I'm seeing some repeating patterns here. Like I see 3 things here. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. It's a 3 and a little offset, and then 3 and a little offset, 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 and here's a vertical line, vertical line, vertical line, vertical line. That would suggest to me that it's a repeating pattern rather than a message. Okay. Let us. DJ says, I don't think it's a message, but try tilting it. Oh, you're right. I mean, those, sometimes the way you read those things is you tilt it in a way that they line up. I don't see any pattern. I don't see any text jumping out at me. Okay. Let us read the last thing there is for us to read, which is the postcard, which was dated May 20th, the same date that Alex wrote his last letter. Has he taken a picture of his house? Has it fully transformed into this? Let's take a look. Wish you were here. Oh, that's creepy. So I think his house is fully transformed. Maybe it goes through a cycle and eventually becomes Damien's house again. And right before it burns itself down. I don't really see anything to see in this photograph to speak of. Just that it seems to have gone back to Damien's house, right? It's gone right back to being Damien's house. It's evolved itself right back to his house. All right. The postcards from 2020. Oh, from 2023. Wait a minute. You're right. Okay. So what are we seeing here? Jonathan's right. This isn't the last postcard before Alex died and disappeared. This is suggesting Alex is still alive in that house 30 years later, still trying to talk to Anne. Is that, can we confirm that that's his handwriting? It doesn't have the T that I was using to... Let's see. Yeah, that's his handwriting. I mean, look at, he's written the name. All right, he's written the name exactly the same. So remember, he died and disappeared in 93. And here he is 30 years later writing another letter to Anne. Saying, wish you were here. And what's the postcard a picture of that he's sending? He's sending a photograph of the original Damien Albrecht's house. Okay, so let's look in the chat here. He did seem to imply everyone that lived in the house is trapped in some other dimension. Yes, I got that too. They're all coexisting there with the house in this reality where the house is dreaming. That's the steps he heard of other people are all the previous owners of the house. They're all still living and existing there. Now, one weird thing about this is we've now finished it. We finished it. We've experienced the story. There's nothing more for us to do. There's no solution envelope. There's no other writing. However, we are told in the beginning that we can email them. So I guess we're going to do that together and see if we get a reply from this system or not. So it says, go to this page, send them an email. Our theory, potential causes for the disappearance. Any observations? So if I had to guess, I would guess that they're just collecting, that they don't have a reply plan, that this is the end of this story and there isn't some solution. This is just how this goes, and they're collecting this, but we could see together, but I don't know, maybe we want to talk about it first. Let me just open up the website. Okay, so it says, reality contains fractures, a series of anomalous events that defy explanation, with only remnants of their occurrences left behind. Letters, recordings, photos, and reports are all that remain of these phenomena, housed within the archive, a catalog of the extraordinary and peculiar. So Albrecht Manor, Jasper Park, that's the new one that isn't out yet. So If we click on Albrecht Manor, what happens? Albrecht Manor. Hints. Interesting. The events that occurred defy description and classification. These are hints as to connections between different pieces in the letters. Well, what do you want to do here? Shall we just click through these, or do you want to talk about this case more? It doesn't feel like... Normally when we play these games, we spend a lot of time talking about our theories of the case. It doesn't really feel to me like there's a theory to be figured out other than the ones we've talked about. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone in the channel feels like there's some other piece of a mystery to figure out. I just feel like this has been an experience story that we're meant to absorb and that we've got the real gist of just by talking it through and reading. That there aren't hidden things to figure out, but I could be wrong here. Let's try clicking on the first one of these and see what it's about. Hint 1, March 20th envelope. All right, now I wish I probably should have filed these back into their envelopes so they don't get mixed up. But let's see, the March 20th envelope was... That's April. 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 March 20th. Okay, the March 20th envelope was this one with his photos. So I guess we didn't really conclude much from these. So let's see. DJ Monica says, I feel like we have a handle on it, but maybe we missed something. We could look at the hints. John says, I'm indifferent. Seems like it might be hard to find little things in the photographs if they were over stream. Okay, let's look at this hint. Let's see what it says. There appears to be some strange artifacts in the photos of Alex Dunn's home. Okay, so that's all. It just says there's some weird artifacts, the overlapping double exposure stuff, the little shadow of a person we saw. All right, so there's nothing super subtle for us to find in there. All right, and then it says there's a hint about the April 24th envelope. Let's see what that says. The families in the fires are connected to the families in the photos. The backs of the clippings reveal some suspicious real estate listings. Okay, we got that. All right, next up. The registries list that the lots were vacant with no buildings present in the years prior to the inhabitants living in the house. That was my observation. The letter dated 3 dates after it was posted. Possible error of the writer or temporal disruption. The gear metalwork matches the symbol on the Albrecht Manor housewarming invitation. Okay, these were the two things we picked up, the 1842, 1872, and then this very nice observation, whoever it was in the channel, you'll remind me, who realized that the logo matched the gears. And then the newspaper clipping contains snippets of writing notes present on the previous letters. Story was possibly written as a direct influence of the house. Okay, we didn't mention that, but I noticed that absolutely that the story that we read by Alex Dunn was absolutely the text that was written on his letters to Anne. Like each paragraph was written on a separate letter. Okay, so I wish I had kept this organized a little bit. Okay, so none of the hints were new to us. We noticed all of that. Some of those you could have easily missed, but we got them. All right, so that's it for the hints. And now we can do report in. All right, so send your findings about the latest cases to the archivist to receive updated information. So maybe it is going to give us a little epilogue here. All right, so I understand the above information we use to. All right, so let's fill out our report here. All right, so we're going to say co-op for 2 team. Okay, email. Okay, and it said the subject should say Albrecht findings. That's what it says on this piece of paper we should put. Okay, what are our theories here? All right, you chime in the chat if I don't, and we'll just try to capture it. I'm gonna say the key insight at the very end was that Damien Albrecht created supernatural. What do we say? He built supernatural house that dreams itself into existence and wakes and burns itself down in a cycle, taking a cycle every 30 years. May 20th, the current occupants are taken with the house where they live on in some alternate reality together, a morphing house that goes through cycles of building itself back into the original Albrecht Manor, something like that. And then we might add, Damien, how you want me? I spelled it wrong. I think we might as well get it right. Not that I think this is being read by anyone, but let's just also note possible art clock powering the house, possible vocation of mechanical supernatural art clock powering the house is in horror. And then maybe the last thing we'd want to note if someone was investigating this is I want to suggest one possible source for one possible lead to investigate further is the placement of the real estate ads, most notably the most recent one, because that was the really odd one, because it was signed by Damien, right? Called Damien. Recent one in 1993, listing by Damien with home number. Anything else we would want to sum up? Did we mention the cycle is 30 years? Yes, I did mention that. I said right at the top here, repeats in a cycle every 30 years on May 20th. House seems to appear out of nowhere before going up for sale. After fire and before going up for sale. Trace down who is seller. Cui bono. Who benefits and who receives money from the sale. All right, anything else? Was the indoor grilling a joke? I think it might have been a joke. Okay, let's copy this in case the submission fails. Let's click submit. Did we mention the cycle? Can you call that number? No, it's a 555 number, so I think that means it's fake. Send our message. Let's send it. Thank you. The archivist will be in contact with you shortly. Okay, now let's see if I can bring up my mail on this. The real question, call it for two. So it may be that I'm a little worried because I just used an email. Well, it looks like it's willing to use this email address. Co-op for two, assuming I put it in right. Well, I don't see any email yet, so maybe it's going to send us an epilogue, or maybe we're not going to get an epilogue tonight, or maybe I don't know, but it doesn't seem to be there yet, which would suggest we're not going to get it. All right, well, let's just talk about it. If I do get a response, I will post it as a comment to this YouTube video. You could try submitting your own to that email address just as a test. But it may just be that remember that the nature of this project, the nature of this company and the people working on this are such that it's sort of like an art project. So you could imagine they might collect responses and see what people say. All right, so let's do our normal thing. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the experience. 3.5 hours we read the letters. I'd like to hear what you think. Whether this was enjoyable, how you like the format, your favorite parts, least favorite parts. We'll talk in 5 minutes. I'll see you then. Okay, we're back to talk about Curios Albrecht Manor. I'll remind you that there is a second set of this, Curios Jasper Park, that'll be out any moment now. So if you enjoyed this, if you're interested in playing more of it, you can order that. I don't think I pre-ordered it, but I'd be willing to talk about it. All right, let me check in with the chat's comments about this game. John says, I would say it's mostly enjoyable experience. It did tell a creepy story. It had some nice documents. I think those nice documents, I was hoping for a little more deduction, especially since it mentioned a report at the beginning and the documents were more of the objective variety. But we did have a couple of fun aha moments, so maybe it just needed to be a bit more difficult for this experienced of a group. DJ Moneycut says, not really a game. A group might be disappointed if they were expecting a typical mystery game. Would work fine if everything was bound together in book form. Writing was good. Felt like it could have been a Lovecraft short story. John says, it sort of felt like the story over-explained itself in a couple of places, like the next letter would point out the 30-year gaps right after you figured it out. I'm curious about Damien. Maybe further sets will continue his story. Couple of good comments there. I would say overall quite enjoyable. I do think the point by DJ Moneycut about this not being a game is a very good one. We started out saying that I wasn't sure how much of this is an experimental story experience versus how much is a game. And at different points on the website, it's sort of explained differently, but it does feel like this is being described as a game, and that might be a bit of a misnomer. We play a lot of things on this channel that are just barely described as games, like the Dear Holmes play-by-mail stuff. I think this one sort of would work better in terms of setting expectations if it was just described as a story told through these letters. It doesn't feel like a game. But as a story experience, I found it very enjoyable. We've been trying to play some creepy stuff for Halloween, and I found it quite creepy from start to end and quite compelling. I mean, I am a sucker for these mysteries with atmosphere and dread told in the form of letters. And we sort of, right from the start, got the feeling that this guy was losing his grasp on reality. And it was pretty cool the way the story unfolded. And I think, as Jonathan points out, there were some cool moments here. Realizing the cycle happened every 30 years on the same day, realizing that this vacant house stuff meant the house was creating itself, sort of making sense of this clockwork house dreaming stuff, the logo matching the gears. There were quite a few really cool elements. And I think the other thing that works as a story here is that it was pointed out in the channel that this would sort of work as an H.P. Lovecraft short story, and I think that's right. There's a certain level of sophistication and sort of, I don't know what you would call it, sort of subtlety in this description of what's happening as this house dreaming that to me I find more creepy and more compelling than you might imagine a story in more amateur hands that would be like, the sorcerer made this trap, that was the house that did this stuff. Instead, it's being described in these very otherworldly idea of this dreaming house that's doing something with the people inside it. It was pretty cool. So I gotta say, I really did like the story and the way it was told. Maybe the only thing I wish for is I wish there were more more digging into the backstory of stuff. Like, it was a little, once we figured out that this house was created by this Albrecht guy and was doing all this weird stuff, it was a little disappointing. He found the hidden attic of photos. That was so cool. But then the photos were just photos of people in the house. And we got no extra information about the background of this guy who built the house. No other information about anything nefarious or devilish or evil happening. And so that was a little disappointing that we didn't get more. You almost expect in stories like this to uncover the origin story. And I think that's the only thing that I was really missing here. More of an origin story about the guy who built this. And you could imagine that an alternative world where our guy kept finding additional documents. Like maybe he discovered the book by Albrecht and Albrecht's diary. Stuff that would become more sinister and more creepy, reveal more about the history of this house being built. And that's the only thing I really missed. I'm curious about Damien, so Jonathan was sort of wanting a little bit more what I wanted. Monica says, it would have been cool if there was some specific significance to that date or the 30-year gap. Yeah, all of this, we're all sort of talking around the same idea, that we wanted more of a origin story explanation to how why this thing is happening the way it's happening. But I do think this format is quite good. Although I think DJ was pointing out something that I would agree with. This story was told in 11 letters, and each one was in its own envelope that we had to cut open. That may have been overkill. Like maybe just a diary, maybe just a bound document with these letters in sequence that we read through would have been just as effective than opening these letters. Although there were some cool things with the dates that I think you could read this, enjoy this, and miss some of those things. I feel like we got most of them, but the newspaper clippings were cool. But I think like the fact that the last postcard in 2023, you should absolutely play this chronologically. It would be probably wouldn't work as well if you did it the other way. So maybe that should have been more explicit in the instructions, and it would have been nice if the photographs had clues. They really didn't. And maybe if there was some other mystery of figuring out like where in the house this clock thing was, or let's see. Kayla C says, I usually love most of what you play, but I found this one flat and a bit boring. Okay. Fair enough. Maybe, Kayla, you need more of an actual game, whereas this one was just a story. I do like these. I did like the story, though. I did like the I don't know the right word for it, but I think DJ said it well in terms of saying it could have been an H.P. Lovecraft story. Maybe H.P. Lovecraft would have been filled with more dread and madness, but it had that flavor of madness to it. And things beyond our understanding. This idea of a house that's sleeping and sort of consuming people and rebuilding itself had that flavor of being something out of the grasp of human understanding. Kayla says, story's okay, but too small. I think that's fair. I think we all wanted a little bit more uncovered about the history of what was going on and why. Fair enough. Mimi in the chat says, what was in the cellar? Nothing was in the cellar, but I do think that's, again, this could all be put together. Like, we wanted a deeper multi-step mystery. We wanted something to be uncovered in the cellar, him to find a box in the cellar, the remains of something that explained the origin going back. Delia says, I joined super late, but there were some missed opportunities to make the mystery more intriguing, like you said. Okay, so it sounds like we're all basically on the same page. I do, for me, the sort of take-home game design lesson here, though, is something that we already knew, but is really true. There are few better hooks than reading letters from someone over time, like reading someone's diary, reading letters from them while they're in danger. There is something about, you know what it is? It's, I mean, obviously this is not new stuff. People have been writing this kind of stuff for a long time. But the juxtaposition of getting these letters that are written in present tense that you're seeing and knowing that time has passed and you can't really save them anymore, and yet your mind is being dragged into this first person present tense. So you're sort of like there at the time, experiencing what they're experiencing, but you've got that dread because you know you can't save them, you can't reach them, you can't do anything about it. So you're sort of going back and forth between present time and current time when it's happened, and that's a very compelling framing for a mystery, scary story. Kayla says, maybe if they respond back to an email, it might redeem things. Yeah, I wonder. I still haven't gotten a reply yet. I wonder if we are going to get a reply. Or maybe talking about things like, we found that the logo matches, but there doesn't seem to be any meaning to the logo other than it was the clock. I would like to know who this, maybe they plan to do more about, as Jonathan said, maybe more about the backstory of this Damien Albrecht guy. If it turns out that the Jasper Park story that Curios is releasing next, if it turns out that that is connected to our Albrecht guy, then you've caught my interest. Then I think we would go do that one again. Well, thank you to everyone who joined me for the experience. A story, but a creepy, appropriate story for Halloween. I enjoyed it. All right, so plan is Sunday, Dear Holmes, another game where we're just reading a story. But then on Monday, we'll probably play the latest Deadbolt Mystery Society box, The House of Asher, which is behind me here. And then maybe Tuesday, we'll start playing The Messenger, which is one of the deluxe games we have planned for this month. That looks like it'll be a multi-session experience, some multimedia, as well as some deluxe props. Creepy, scary. I'll need some company for that. I don't like to play these things alone. And then later in the month, I think we're going to play Root of All Evil, which is supposed to be scary. Maybe Witchery Spell. I'm not sure we'll be able to get all of those in. We'll see. If you want to help decide what games we play, follow the link on the About page of this YouTube to the Board Game Geek Guild for this channel, where we plan out what games we play. There's a thread called Game Queue and a thread for the Halloween games. Let me know what games you're particularly interested in and when you'd like to play. If you like this video and want to see more of them, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you next time.